Lore Together is proud to be part of the Boss Rush Games network. Feel free to find out more at bossrushgames.com/network. Hi, I'm Safi.
And I'm Mystic.
And this is Lore Together. This is the podcast where a husband and wife team go over all of the characters, world building, and storytelling in video games. Because it's what we like to do together. We lore together.
Yep. And this is going to be episode 49.
Woo!
And you have no idea what the game is.
No, I don't think so. I might have seen part of your notes.
Okay.
I was gonna try to fake it, and I really couldn't. This is the part that's fraught with awkwardness.
Pitfalls.
When we're at home the same day, because when I'm working from home, and I happen to see your notes for the podcast by accident because we're doing something with little buddy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, I just ruined it, didn't I?
What'd you see?
It said Unreal.
That doesn't help you that much, though, I imagine. You know the game.
Okay, yeah, I know the game.
But you don't know anything about the game.
No, I accept that we used to play it. That's pretty much it. So
okay,
I saw a title. That's essential.
Well, now that you've ruined it,
before
we get into the actual game,
I've ruined everything, guys. Everything.
Before we get into the actual game, if you'd like to contact us, you can do that on Twitter at LoreTogether, on Instagram at LoreTogether, through email at loretogether@gmail.com. Is anyone sick of me doing this pace yet? I don't know. And if you'd like to support the podcast, you can do that over on patreon.com/loretogether, where you can get early access to episodes, as well as access to Q&A, mini episodes, and I think we have one of those coming up soon.
A Q&A will be coming up within the next week or so. Unfortunately,
Safi edits Q's and A's.
There's a lot of juggling going on, but after that is complete, it's going to have my top priority attention.
So, May 1998. We're going back a ways.
I was in 7th grade.
I was in high school. I was almost done with high school.
Yeah.
Published by GT Interactive, which eventually became Infogrames, and then became Atari. If my reading of the very convoluted history of the Atari name is accurate.
Oh my gosh.
And developed by Epic Mega Games, now Epic Games.
Keeping it simple. Can't argue with that.
And Digital Extremes, who are still kicking it as Digital Extremes, though now they are owned entirely by the Chinese company Tencent.
Scandal! No.
They're the people who developed Warframe, if you've seen that.
Okay, yeah.
So this is the story of prisoner 849 and Na Pali.
Like Napoli, but with a apostrophe in it?
No apostrophe, just Na Pali.
Na Pali, okay.
Yeah. So we talked about Half-Life before.
Okay.
And how it was the first shooter to kind of make a serious story part of the first-person shooter experience.
Yes.
There are some who would argue that Unreal was there first.
Oh, okay.
And we're talking pure FPS. Games like System Shock 1 were earlier, but not what we would call FPS like Half-Life and Unreal are, where you have full motion freedom to look around and everything.
Right, because System Shock was much more of like an RPG with a bent
first-person perspective.
With a first-person's perspective. It was kind of like a marriage of those two genres.
There is a remake of System Shock 1 coming soon, so we will cover that, I'm sure. Sometime before 2215, we're aboard the UMS Votrex Rikers.
UMS Votrex Rikers, okay.
United Military Service. Also called Prison Vessel 254.
Prison Vessel 254. What an inspiring name.
That's why most people call it the Votrex Rikers.
Yeah, that's the thing about humans. Is like it would make more logical sense to sequentially like number things, but we just as human beings just can't deal with that. So we always give them names or nicknames or something else.
Right. It's the most rundown prisoner transport in the galaxy, hauling some pretty deranged individuals. Think Con Air.
You're the reason I saw that movie, by the way, and that was a lot more fun than I thought it was going to be. And Steve Buscemi was the creepiest of creepers there.
But we've got murderers, rapists. There's a whole group called the White Lotus, like this self-segregated group of prisoners.
Oh.
And they're not even going to the destination prison. They're all slated for execution during the trip.
So they're gonna execute him and dump him on the way to lighten the load? I mean, first of all, why not execute him before? That sounds like a waste of fuel, and with everything I know about ships, like with the weight load. Oh my gosh. Also, now I want to call the prison boat Bodie McBoatface. I'm sorry.
Fighting among the prisoners is high when they're not in their cells. According to the CMO, they will be out of supplies before they reach the final prison.
Well, I mean, if you kill and eat the prisoners, like, is that really going to be an issue? Like, you've already got the solution. This is like a modest proposal. Jail edition.
In a small cell on board is a person known only as Prisoner 849.
No name whatsoever.
We have no information beyond the fact that they're human. Unofficially, they are female.
Okay. And
they stole plans for a Inuit Corporation battle cruiser.
Inuit, is this inspired by the same company that owns TurboTax?
I have no idea.
That's just where my brain went. Sorry.
And they killed 14 guards doing this heist. So,
okay, I can understand that, but why don't they have a name? Why would we not call...
We don't even have a gender, technically.
But context clues assume it's a...
You can pick male or female.
Okay.
But that's why I say unofficially they are female, because certain design documents or early builds would have a female base.
Okay, cool. Also, why not call her him Niner?
I don't know.
Well, Niner. Never mind.
Plasma gates guarded the cells, and after numerous attempts, 849 learned that trying to get through the plasma gate would only result in head trauma.
Okay.
One day, 849, I'm just going to call 849 she, the prisoner. It's going to be interchangeable.
Okay.
So. One day, 849 awoke to find alarm bells blaring throughout the ship, prisoners screaming, and a strong burning smell blowing into the cell.
Oh, God.
Officers and guards were rushing up and down the corridor. Suddenly, Ash, the head guard of the prison cells, started to walk by while writing something in his logbook. Questioning him about the situation resulted in a quick answer stating that the Votrex Rikers was going to crash.
Oh.
Though 849 tried to convince Ash to open the gate so that they could all escape, he simply sneered and continued on his path.
Wow, one of those ships. Okay.
Yeah, she started to yell at him in rage, but was thrown back against the wall by a strong jolt from the ship. Sometime later, hours, days, we really don't quite know, 849 woke up to discover that against all odds in this rundown ship, they had survived the crash.
Okay, I'm going to say hours, because very rarely, if you have a head injury that has you sleep for days, that you're able to get up and start figuring out stuff pretty easily.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, but that's my canon. I'm not saying that's strict canon.
When people write they were knocked out, they don't always take medical...
Do I know that this is a flaw in writing? Yes. Is it one that irritates me that really shouldn't? Because, come on, Safi, we just need to get the story going? Yeah. Absolutely. Am I going to be pedantic about it anyway? Absolutely.
Even then, if you're knocked out for hours, you're probably suffering some brain damage as well.
No, I agree. Like, there was some article I remember reading. This is probably when cracked
You have minutes of... like, seconds to minutes... at most.
If you're out for more than 10 minutes after a head injury, the doctor needs to be called right away as soon as you wake up.
To be fair, if you're knocked out from a head injury, the doctor should probably be called regardless of how long it takes you.
I always wonder, though, I'm not a medical professional, obviously.
Please not take medical advice from a podcast.
Please
At least not one about gaming lore.
Do not take medical advice from a podcast. But one thing I wonder is it possible that it's not a head injury, but kind of like your body goes into shock after getting a really bad hurt, and then it's kind of like, oh, it's better if we're out. I don't think it's always a head injury, but when it specifically is a head injury is when it bothers me the most.
Right.
So.
849 has a chance at freedom, as the plasma gate has been deactivated due to the crash.
Okay.
In the wreckage of the ship, 849 finds a translator to assist with understanding alien languages. Do not ask me more information about that.
Wait. Just finds a translator.
Do not ask me.
What does it look like?
Okay, so one thing you have to realize is that this is a 1998 game. And so when you find buttons or levers or stuff, they are big and bulky cubes.
So it's just the idea of a translator was given to you because they didn't want to make something big and bulky.
A little thing pops up on your screen telling you what you see. Like it's you just have like messages.
So there's literally not even any idea of how it would interface with a person.
I don't remember off the top of my head so another thing about this game is hard to find videos for.
Oh, really?
It's called Unreal Gold. Fair.
Yeah.
Unreal Gold is easy to find some video for, but the problem is you have a game engine called Unreal.
Yeah.
That has a massive quantity of tutorial videos.
Of how to play, especially the multiplayer.
No, engine.
Oh, the engine. That's right. Gosh, look at my naive self being like, oh yeah, because there's people who want to really get into the multiplayer. No.
Unreal Tournament has been dead for years now. There's a very small community that loves it.
Yeah.
I am one of them. I wish Epic would continue working on it, but they are so
swamped with actually having an engine that people use on the regular.
They're so swamped with Fortnite.
Oh.
Yeah. They're swamped with printing money from Fortnite, so everybody's working on that and not on other games.
I like the idea that you just sneeze glitter on one of those models and suddenly you've made $10,000 in 5 minutes. Like, it's insane.
So we have this translator. We can understand alien languages, which we get mostly by text.
I'm going to assume it's Farscape translator, and I'm done.
The door of the prison block was locked, so 849 used an air vent to access the bridge. While in the air vent, 849 can hear screams from other people on board, presumably dying.
Oh, that's another reason I would say it's like wouldn't have been that long, hours. So, because if you
we do find out, small spoiler, we find evidence of other people later on. 849 continued through the rest of the ship while healing wounds suffered in the crash, basically just grabbing medkits and stuff.
Yeah.
And attempted to discover the ship's present situation. She soon listened behind a locked door as a large group of guards were murdered by what turns out to be a single Scar warrior. Scar is an alien race.
That's what I figured.
And it's spelled Skaarj, but it's pronounced Scar, not Skaarj.
Why is the J there?
It's silent.
But it's an alien race and we're spelling it with...
go with it.
Western letters. No, I'm not going to just go with it. That's the whole point. No, if I was just going to go with it, we wouldn't have a podcast, Mystic. The whole point is for me to be outraged and dumb crap like
if you're going to be outraged at dumb crap, we shouldn't be covering an FPS from 98.
No, that's exactly why we're covering FPS from 98. So half of this is just going to be outraged on stuff that doesn't really matter. Anyway, yeah, I hate it when they're like, there's an extra letter, but we're spelling an alien language in a human language, so we didn't have to add any extra letters.
Could be worse. They could have tossed 7 apostrophes in it.
Yeah, that would be worse. I still would hate it. And I still hate this one with the J at the end that does nothing.
All right, so the Scar, reptilian bipeds.
Okay.
They have a very strict caste system.
Okay.
Yeah. They are conquerors and slavers and do a lot of genetic experimentation and modification.
Uh-oh.
Scar warriors, in particular, are around 8 feet tall, 2.4 meters, and about 375 pounds or 170 kilograms.
Okay. This is also kind of reminding me a little bit of Farscape. For anybody who's seen all the seasons and seen some of the origin stories of one of the villains. Anyway.
They also have retractable claws, not like claws like in their hands. They have like, they wear a thing that has claws on it, on their wrists.
Okay.
Yeah.
So their weapon is a retractable claw. Okay.
As the door opens, 849 catches a glimpse of the Scar, but it runs away instead of attacking.
Must have taken a couple of hits before it downed everybody.
She collects a dispersion pistol off one of the guards. Finally have some weapons.
Yay!
And ready to exit the ship, 849 heads to the emergency escape shaft. Having found a way to escape the Votrex Rikers, she starts traveling around the alien planet of Na Pali. With a trusty dispersion pistol in hand, 849 explores Nileve's Falls.
Does she know the name of these places? Are there signs she's translating?
We do get logs from humans. We get logs from aliens. We can translate writings on buildings and stuff like that. We have that ability. Okay. So we're just kind of going with that. We're not going to say how she finds out all the information. Just presume it's from a log.
Okay. All right.
Some of them are not, but we're going to go with it because it makes better sense.
It does make better sense.
We are not the only survivors of the Votrex Rikers. As I said, we find logs from other humans. We also hear mention of one of the logs of the ISV Kran, which was lost in the area 3 months ago, which is another human vessel.
Oh my gosh.
It's here we find our first alien log entry. Quote, "My burden does not end. More minions have been cast down by the angry gods. I will pray for their souls, but I fear my prayers are not heard. I must travel to the Temple of Chizra to seek balance." End quote.
Okay.
we also meet our first Na'Li in this area. Okay. The Na'Li are a, quote, primitive race of 4-armed humanoids. And we're going problematic primitive.
Oh, no!
To a degree. Dark-skinned, mostly.
Okay.
Not like dark, but like tan skin at least.
Okay, they're swarthy.
Yeah, and grass skirts.
No!
Or at least, we're going off of also very rudimentary modeling here. I mean...
it just pains me. That people have been making fabric for...
Right.
Or been...
But...
sewing furs. I'm sorry. It's been happening for...
But also, they also have a language that's... Like, I don't know if I don't remember if we hear Scar language, but the Na'Li are like... They have a tonality that sounds a little, quote, African. Which I know what I'm saying when I'm saying African. But that's why I'm saying it that way.
Oh, they're the scare quotes, guys. You can't see the scare quotes. Like, this is so painful right now.
But they also have a very advanced religion.
Okay.
And also have built massive temples all over the planet. And seem to have a decent level of technology comparable to, I don't want to say Middle Ages, maybe a little bit more advanced than that.
Wait. We also, let's not be too Eurocentric about it, because what you're describing to me is essentially these writers of this game basically didn't realize what they were referencing was probably Mayan and Aztec culture.
Right.
Because they had a very structured bureaucratic system, and they lived in a jungle area. It was very civilized.
That is a very fair point. That I probably jumped to a conclusion that maybe they didn't.
And the problem is the Aztecs and the Mayans definitely didn't just run around in grass skirts. Like, they had sophisticated tapestries and cloth and sewing skills and weapon building skills. They actually, in theory, their swords were sharper than the European swords.
Right.
So
there is one thing I don't like about them, even if they have everything going for them in terms of advanced religion and, their ability to build these amazing temples and all this stuff.
So they've got really good engineering prowess.
And they are enslaved by the Skaarj.
I'm sorry, what?
In the mines. So they're mining this substance called iridium.
They're enslaved by the Skaarj, but they're allowed... Wait, is it one of those situations where, the
Na'Li are the natives.
The Na'Li are the natives, and do the Na'Li have... So the Na'Li have their own civilization, and then the Skaarj are kidnapping the Na'Li.
Right.
Okay. That was the one thing I just needed to understand there.
And despite being enslaved, they are very, so devout towards their teachings, which are all about pacifism. They don't fight back.
No,
They do resist.
No, but But being able to resist without going to violence, that makes sense to me, actually. That's not completely far-fetched.
My concern is that we're going to get into a savior trope.
Oh, no. We are?
Yeah.
Oh, this is the disappointment on my face, guys. I wish you could see it.
Also, side note, the Skaarj, since they enslaved the Na'Li, also have a sport called Na'Li Slaughter.
Oh, so they're like the Spartans.
And that's okay. So the Na'Li Slaughter thing is from a game called Unreal Championship, which was console exclusive and is not exactly the same canon, quote unquote.
But again, I could. Yeah. I don't know. So okay, take that with a huge rock assault.
Right. So 849 travels down to the Rajagar mine facility, where she encounters the Skaarj in combat for the first time, as well as Na'Li slaves.
Oh wow.
Finally emerging from the mining facility, we're going to do a lot of goes into this area, and the next sentence is leaving that area, because they're just one level or a small location or whatever.
Okay.
So finally emerging from the mining facility, we find our way to the Temple of Chizra, the Na'Li god of water.
Okay.
There's a lot of dialogue and translation here, mostly how to pass the trials.
So it's a water temple puzzle thing.
Not in the I must raise and lower the... I don't think it was the raise and lower the level. I don't remember exactly off the top of my head, but I don't think it was, because that would be a bit advanced for this engine.
I'm just saying it's just something that happens a lot. Is we have a temple for water because water is important to life, and then there are puzzles.
Yeah. There's also Scar in it, so there's also some contradictions in it. It is prophesied that the Messiah is the only one who can cleanse the temple, because they are the one to rid the temple of the Slith and the Scar. The Slith are like a amphibian cousin to the Scar. Think more snake-like, no legs, so they slither. The Scar don't go underwater, the Slith do. But because they rid the temple of the baddies, it can be assumed that prisoner 849 is the Messiah. But if 849 is indeed the prophesied Messiah, one wonders why their motives, which basically boil down to escape the planet, could be considered impure if they are foretold to be. There's a lot in here of 849 is doing this.
Yeah.
But is 849 actually the one that was intended to do it?
Right. It's the problem with the vagueness of prophecy.
Right.
But prophecy, unfortunately, has to be vague if it's going to be fulfilled.
Right. We eventually make way out of the temple to the dark arena. Interestingly, the arena appears to be Nali built, so there's some questions about whether they were always pacifist or if this is more of a recent change in their culture.
No, that would make sense, especially if it's religiously made. That they wouldn't have had this religion from before they were sophisticated enough to have even like an agrarian civilization. They're definitely past that point by the time the Skaarj find them, but it would make sense that there would be, an evolution of their society where they realized what's important to them, and pacifism is going to get them there.
We do get some idea of what happened to the other human survivors here from a Nali entry. Quote, the Skaarj have brought a new batch of the 2 armed soft skins from another of their raids.
Wait, are the Nali not soft?
I believe they are tough. They're like a tough skin.
Okay, so they've got a thicker hide situation going on.
Or at least the differentiation of 2 arms and not Scar, because Scar are reptilian. So I fear one of them is the Messiah, come down from the heavens, but I must pray that I am mistaken and not give up hope for the freedom of my people, end quote. We do know there is at least one member of the ISV Cran crew here. We get a note about them starving and dealing with the screams of pain that they're hearing.
Oh, wow.
We also find a message from a Votrex Rikers survivor saying they wish they had died in the crash.
Oh, no.
We have bigger problems than dead humans, though. This is our first time we face a Titan, a huge Scar. Think boss battle, you're on the right track.
Okay. That's fair.
Yeah, big Scar.
Big Scar smash.
Yeah. Defeating the Titan, we traverse across the planet for a few levels, dealing with new threats like the mercenaries on their crashed ship, Terrano. I think that's how I pronounce it.
Terrano?
Terranux.
How's it spelled?
Terrainux. Terranux?
What's the base language?
It's an alien. It's an alien ship. So I don't know.
I don't know, because I was going to say the way you spelled it, it does sound like French, so it would be Terrano. But you're right. If it's an alien ship and we're trying to say things in English.
Terranix?
Terranic. Okay.
Whatever. The mercenaries are basically cyborg creatures who are seemingly at odds with you and the Scar. Likely they're here.
Everybody's awful. Everybody must die.
Yeah, likely they're here for the Teridium as well.
Oh, yeah.
Teridium, by the way, is kind of this thing that's used for numerous things, but it's also used for ship power. It's used,
right.
Yeah, we'll get to some experiments later with it.
It's the fuel hunt of this universe. Okay. Right.
I get reminded a lot in this when we get to some later areas of the space pirates in Metroid Prime, where they're doing experiments with Phazon and injecting it into people and stuff.
Oh, yeah. Weird stuff.
After dealing with the mercenaries, we get into another temple, this time the Temple of Vendora, Nali goddess of lightning. It's, of course, been taken over by the Skaarj. Skaarj.
Look, see, they shouldn't have added that J.
It's been taken over by the Scar, and we do find casualties from the IVS Cran, a scouting party that was killed. Fighting our way through, I'm going to probably put our in there, or we a few times, just including dealing with another Titan.
Oh, yeah, another boss fight.
Yeah.
Reptile smash.
We eventually find the crash of the ISV Cran itself. The Cran is actually owned by the Inuit Corporation, not the United Military Services like every other human vessel we've encountered.
Right. That makes sense.
Boarding it, we find no survivors. Everyone who was on board has been killed by the Scar, but it wasn't fast.
Wow.
They had months before the Scar got into the ship as they tried in vain to fight back, but in the end they all died. Literally there's log entries of Titans beating on the hull trying to get in.
Oh my gosh. That's a horrible way to die.
Yeah. The transport on the top deck though, each deck is its own level. Will likely be of some help, so 849 heads that way. Fighting our way there, 849 finds herself teleported to a village near the Nali Sunspire. The Nali stronghold is now crawling with baddies, and 849 has to fight her way up. It's kind of the only direction really to go.
Uh-oh, more savior complex potential, I'm assuming.
This is about halfway through the game, by the way.
Okay.
On the way, we find more Cran casualties, a rescue party sent out to find their chief science officer. All these characters are labeled as minor, and it's just like, oh, they died doing this, they died doing that. So I'm just kind of giving you the broad strokes, as always.
Right.
At the top, we find an ascension vehicle that will put us in the gateway to Na Pali. Na Pali is the planet as well as a area on the planet.
Okay.
Which is the gateway to Na Pali is a bunch of tunnels carved into an island floating in the sky.
Do we explain why this island's floating in the sky?
A little bit, not to any satisfactory degree.
Okay.
The maze of tunnels eventually leads to Na Pali Haven, which is a Nali settlement. It's basically on the surface of this island.
Okay.
It feels a little bit like Myst, in a way, like if Myst was done in a 1998 real-time environment instead of a 1995 CGI environment. Was it 5? 7? Something like that.
1995 PowerPoint environment,
yeah.
Really.
I forget what it was called. That wasn't PowerPoint. It was a Mac exclusive HyperCard.
Okay.
Yeah. But you have a town with a waterfall and a lake in the center, and then a giant obelisk is sticking out of it that kind of keeps the island floating.
Is there a chimp figuring out how to use a weapon right in front of that obelisk? Okay. Just had to check.
Even here, the Skaar are a threat, and they've even built a secret base in the mountain where they keep watch over these Nali.
Every secret base is in a mountain. Have you ever noticed that? And if it's not in a mountain, it's in a volcano. I'm just saying, like, you've watched enough James Bond to know this is true, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to be validated in that moment.
This is the first time we actually see their architecture or technology in the game, and it's pretty well done. It's a marked difference from human or Nali styles, so at least we have 3 different styles of tech.
Yeah.
After 849 finds her way into the outpost, we find that there's nowhere else to go. This island is up in the sky and is a dead end.
Right.
Going back down the spire is not going to help. So 849 uses a teleporter in the Scar base to go back down to the surface.
Okay.
Basically, our whole mission here is just to find a way off this rock.
Wow. We literally feels like when you're only 2 hours away from Disneyland and you've pissed off your father so much, you just
We're going back.
He literally is going to drive the 16 hours back right now.
Keep that feeling.
No, what do you mean keep that feeling? It's a bad feeling to keep.
849 arrives back on the surface in Velora Pass, and after taking out some Skaar, finds that she has to deal with one of the hardest single enemies in the game, a Stone Titan. Basically, it's a variant of Titan that just is much more health.
Okay.
And is a lot tougher. Defeating it, she can raise a bridge to get across some lava and get to a Nali monastery.
Okay.
Here we get the final story of the ISV Cran. While the rest of her crew tried to rescue their chief science officer, none made it past the monastery gates. Kira Argmanov was taken here by the Skaar and imprisoned.
Oh no.
She was eventually freed by a Nali named Kroon and taken to the bell tower of the monastery. He is one of 3 brothers that you kind of get logs for here, all working in some way to resist passively in some way.
Uh-huh.
And he was killed by the Skaar while endeavoring to bring her food, and she actually ended up starving to death in the bell tower. At least that's what we can be assumed, because she's dead with no injuries.
Interesting.
And that's kind of the last we hear of the ISV Cran at all. Like, everyone is dead from that ship.
Wow.
Leaving the monastery behind, we travel through Dasa Pass and Serpent's Canyon before we come to the Nali Castle. Like the temples, there's a bunch of prophetic things here, and you must destroy the Demon Lord before ascending into the dungeon, blah, blah, blah.
Wow.
Yeah, the demon is actually the Scar Warlord, and we're not stepping into real demons. But make no mistake, the Scar Empire is brutally evil. Like, to the Nali, they are demons.
Are you saying the demons are the enemies we've made along the way?
I'm saying that this isn't Doom and we're fighting an actual demon.
No, I just moving past my joke. It wasn't that bad, Mystic. Come on.
Wasn't that good either.
Come on.
I'm just
Give me
kidding.
a break.
We injure the Warlord enough that he just teleports away.
Ow! That hurt. I'm going to get my mommy to kiss my boo-boo. Bye.
And we find ourselves in a crater overlooking the Scar Mothership.
Oh, so there's a mothership. So wait, how long have the Scar been on Napoli?
Pali.
Damn it. Nah, Polly.
Don't know. I don't know.
But their mothership is still here.
Yeah.
Okay, so they probably haven't been here for generations, is what I assume. They have probably only been here for maybe a few solar years or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah. The prisoner realizes that if the Scar Queen is killed, it will cause all the Scar and Napali to become extinct once the current generation of them is dead. Basically, they have the one female, that's it. So once they're all dead, once this current generation is dead, the Nali are free. The prisoner realizes that this was already prophesized by the Nali. Whether 849 is the Messiah or not, she doesn't know. Not 100% sure she would care.
Right.
She is sure that there is a way off this rock in that mothership.
Absolutely.
There's not a lot of lore chunks beyond the mothership as we explore the mothership, beyond the mothership lab.
Okay.
Where we find a lot of test subjects having various experiments done with them.
Oh, no.
Including exposure to Teridium, and they do stuff like EKG percentages and like how much energy they have building up and it gets weird.
Interesting.
Again, it reminds me of the phase-on experiments by the pirates in
Right. They're just kind of...
Yeah.
It feels a little more Frankenstein-y than scientific. Okay.
We also have a fight around the main reactor. We're trying to destroy the main reactor because it's kind of restricting our abilities, and it's also going to... It makes the ship more active.
Right.
So, where we fight the warlord again. He's back.
The one that transported because he needed a kiss from his mommy for his boobie?
Yeah.
Well, he's on the mothership, so of course he got a kiss from mommy for his boobie.
Well, this time he has nowhere to run, and 849 kills him.
Yay!
Then she takes out the generator, and we get this great cutscene of the reactor going nuts as the ship plunges into darkness. Problem is, we're not done yet, and the whole ship is dark.
Just imagine there's a power down noise. The prisoner looks around, and they just go... Oh, come on!
Not only that, now you have to navigate a dark ship, and Scar are slightly luminescent.
No! Nobody told me that. Nobody told me that.
So you just see like these figures in the darkness.
Oh, that's... So now we're in the horror game portion
Yeah.
of this. Okay.
We fight our way through the ship, activating backup power supplies to get to the Queen's chamber. Basically, local power supplies, backup power supplies, get to the door, get into the next area, that type of stuff.
Okay.
Once the Queen is defeated...
Boss fight.
The prisoner finds a Scar escape vessel.
Okay.
Wasting no time, 849 enters the pod, and they ignite the engines, and the pod blasts off and flies out of the mothership complex, eventually exiting the atmosphere, and then finally exits the gravitational field. And then once free of the gravitational pull, the fuel reserves run dry, and the pod continues with the remaining momentum, and eventually just kind of comes to a halt.
Just lists there.
849 is imprisoned in the pod, left to ponder the events that have transpired and their miraculous survival of them. She laughs, thinks about how little has changed about her situation.
Yeah.
And feels confident that this little pod will eventually be discovered.
Eventually, at some point. But...
As she almost later dies of starvation, that help finally arrives. Unreal got one expansion pack called Unreal Mission Pack 1.
Mission Pack 1? Okay.
Return to Napali.
Why are we returning to Napali?
The UMS Bodega Bay rescues the pod.
Okay, so remind me the name of the first ship that was carrying...
Votrex Rikers.
UMS Votrex Rikers. Very serious, very to the point, very, sharp edges. UMS Bodega Bay? Is there a party? Are we... is it playing if you like pina coladas in the background? Is there a bit of a...
This is also not by the original developers. It is an official expansion pack, but is by Legend Entertainment, who no longer exist.
Okay, all right. Well, I'm just saying they're already setting a very different tone with the name of that ship that rescues her.
Right.
I just have this idea of now this is where I would think it's a kid have the grass skirts because you're just pretending to hula. It's part of it's a cruise ship actually. There you go.
The crew can't identify 849 at first, sends DNA records back to Earth, and gets basically, this is prisoner 849.
Yeah.
And basically they give her a choice.
All right.
Go back down there.
Mm-hmm.
Because you are the only person who has actually escaped off this thing, so you have a working knowledge of the planet. Find the UMS Prometheus and get some data on it.
Okay. UMS Prometheus is now, of course, unfortunately, the Alien series has kind of ruined that name for us. So, of course, it's got that very, science research vessel full of alien DNA tone to it. But the wildly different tones of the names of these ships is just boggling my mind.
Okay, so, Bodega Bay could be a place.
Yeah, that's fair.
Votrex Rikers is not a place.
No, it sounds like a shock troop
of some sort. And Prometheus is a name.
Is a name, yeah. It's not like it was very purposeful in a certain era of Star Trek that shuttles were named after rivers.
Certain things.
Yeah, like rivers or something like that, or capitals. Mm-hmm. They don't have anything going on like that, and I think it just kind of ruins the whole... It was one thing if, like you said, you've UMS Votrex Rikers. That's the only ship that we saw that was from the UMS fleet.
Mm-hmm. And the IVS Karn.
And the IVS Karn, which was...
Or was it ISV? I think it was IVS. I can't remember.
It was not a military vessel, but it was actually a private... It
was a corporate vessel.
It was a corporate vessel, yeah. It was privately owned. So who cares about the naming conventions between those two? But now you've got...
Bodega Bay, Prometheus, Votrex Rikers, yeah.
Okay, I know some of the listeners are like, why is she wasting her time going over this? You have to understand.
Names are the thing that get in your craw the most, it seems.
Yeah, it's part of the world building. I like consistency with the world building when it comes to naming conventions, and they're just not hitting it.
So her choice is to go on this mission, go down to the Prometheus, and get Talon data cores.
Oh.
Basically get information.
Yeah.
Get a full pardon and a trip back to Earth.
Nice. Can I get my name back, too? I mean,
or get tossed from an airlock. Which would you choose?
Can I have a sandwich before you send me back down, please? Just one good sandwich.
The prisoner searches the marshlands of the planet and finds the Prometheus, as well as the Talon data cores. However, she also intercepts a conversation between UMS Starlight Base Command and the Bodega Bay about Operation Talon Hunter, which is basically what she's doing.
Mm-hmm.
To keep the operation a secret, Base Command orders the Bodega Bay to eliminate prisoner 849.
Oh, so I'm not going back up there. Might as well die here. It's fine.
As soon as she transmits the data, a squad is sent down to take her out. Basically, they send a squad of Marines down. They transport them down.
So they're taking her out because she knows too much, I'm assuming?
At this point, yeah, to keep the whole mission a secret.
Oh, my gosh.
She escaped through a series of mining tunnels. And
dummies, right? Yeah. You're the only person who could have escaped. Okay, so now we're going to have to kill her. She's the only person who has escaped, guys.
Yeah. Traversing a bunch of facilities and Nali temples. I'm not going to go through them all.
Yeah.
She eventually finds a shuttle and flies it into orbit.
Okay.
The Bodega Bay attempts to fire a missile at the shuttle, but the prisoner leads the missile back into the ship and destroys it.
Oh, okay. Cool.
And then she flies away in the shuttle, and where her story goes, we have no idea.
I'm sure...
She is never brought up again.
I'd like to think she found a way back to the actual Bodega Bay, which is a vacation spot on a...
That's some general liked or something.
On an archipelago. Yeah. And she's able to get a name again, and she just sits by the beach drinking, fancy named
something with an umbrella
beverages.
In it.
I mean, she probably, they probably give her the umbrella and she flicks it aside.
Yeah.
And she's like, I'm really just here because I like the taste of pineapple, and just chugs it. It's like, I earned this.
So technically, this is the last game in the Unreal series.
Really?
So Unreal 2, the only thing connecting Unreal 2, the Leandri conflict, to Unreal is the Scar, I believe.
Okay. Because the Scar sound like there's some colonizing jerks.
The races keep appearing.
Okay.
But the storylines don't all match up. Unreal Tournament is technically a spin-off.
Okay.
There is a storyline there as well, but it's a very different storyline.
Of course.
It's a story of tournaments, who wins a tournament, all that stuff. Then you have Unreal Championship, which is a very weird thing that I barely know anything about. I know I know it's not considered canon by a lot of people, and also we would never be able to cover it because there's no way we can play it.
Oh, wow.
I believe they were both Xbox exclusive, and I have no idea how to emulate that. I'm sure it's possible, but I have no idea how to do that.
Well, if somebody wants to tell us at loretogether@gmail.com, we'd happily pursue it.
Yeah.
Because we are the dorks that would if we had the opportunity to, but, with the two of us and little buddy trying to run our lives.
I had no idea that there were 3 novels for Unreal.
Whoa.
To the point that I went online and ordered one of them.
Okay.
It's probably not great. It's probably not terrible.
But if it's decent, I mean, bonus, right? Like, right. That's amazing.
So I'm going to check that out. I may do an episode on it, or I may just do an audiobook read. Who knows? We'll see.
Oh, that would be for patrons, though.
Yeah, but yeah, so that's it for Unreal.
Wow. Well, I like
which
the idea.
I went into not even realizing that it had that much story. Like, I always thought it was like a Doom dumb first person. Like, not that Doom's dumb now, but like, you know, point A to point B, no story between point A and B each level. Like, here we have like we have a whole level where you hear about 3 Nali brothers who are working as like resistance almost.
Yeah, it sounds like there's a little bit of nuance there. Now, although I'm disappointed with how they portrayed the Nali and the kind of references they used, at the same time, I am kind of impressed that, one, it's kind of assumed that it's a female prisoner. Mm-hmm. Also, though I'm sure there's a lot of people who'd prefer to play a guy, and that's fine, whatever. Yeah. Because it's not
official.
It's not official.
It's like arguing who is the player for who is the stranger in Myst.
Right.
You know.
There's no. Yeah,
the only difference here is that they have voice recordings from male and female. You know, that type of stuff.
Yeah, exactly, the reactions. So that's kind of cool. I do like the Con Air thing, I should say. Right? Yeah.
It's not very often that we get tossed into the shoes of a character who unofficially is a thief and a murderer. Right. From the outset. Like, yeah. Yes, we will get tossed into...
We get more of those Jean Valjean situations, you know? Like, they committed crimes, but they committed crimes for the right reasons. Like, let's think back to the Resident Evil episode. What's his name? Did crimes and got convicted a killer, but he was...
Billy Cohen?
Yeah. Yeah, but he was actually disobeying orders for the exact right reasons.
Or, I can't remember his name, Corvo from Dishonored.
Yeah.
Like... Or even if you want to go for a bad guy in Dishonored, I can't remember his name. The lead assassin, the guy who kills the Empress, is doing it for what he believes is the right reasons, but then doubts it.
Like, right. There is a lot of idea of, okay, your crimes have to be justified in a moral way for us to support you as a main character.
But here, like, again, we have no record of this in game. It's all in documentation from outside the game. Right. That they stole tens of thousands of credits worth of information and killed 14 people to get it.
It's like a true anti-hero situation. Like, this is...
And at no point is it actually explicitly said, you have to do this to save the Nali.
Right. It's more that I'm doing this and it happens to save the Nali. Like, that makes sense for the kind of character they dropped in there. I find that very interesting. I usually really like a story where the hero doesn't know they're going to be a hero. Mm-hmm. That's just kind of thrust upon them, or they're not going out of their way to find trouble. They're just doing something really, really compelling after they got thrown into something. Those are the kinds of heroes I prefer to read and write about. So, but it's even then, they're usually, even if they're nuanced, they're still on the better side of good. They're not like, right, just straight up, yeah, I killed 14 guards, what of it, So I really hope she got a sandwich before they sent her back on Napali. Like,
so next time we rerun stream is going to be you playing Unreal.
This is going to be unreal for me, that's for sure. Yeah, and hopefully some of you have been keeping up with our abduction live stream series, because that's been really fun. And I've been having a lot of fun doing it, even though I'm usually bad at puzzles. I've got my husband helping me make sure that I'm not super lost. So we hope you join us with those dues. So that's every other Thursdays is abduction, and then the Thursday after the public release of a show, we'll live stream the show. So right, and
then after abduction, you wanted to do Everybody's Gone to the Rapture.
I figured it'd be a shorter one, and it's a game that really touched me and is capital A art, and I like to celebrate that.
But thank you for listening, and we will catch you guys next episode.
Yeah, we'll catch you next time. Thanks so much for listening.
Bye.
Bye.